Okay, the imposter syndrome will be strong with this one, I think. Okay, we messed up. And actually, I took that slide from my friend's speech, my friends and co-founders, although his was much more bolder. And the thing is, those words represent really how I feel about how things went into the space that I'm here to talk about, and I mean Web3. Because, like, imagine that once in a while there comes a thing that has the potential to profoundly impact the fundamental aspects of our everyday living. Like the invention of the internet was one of such things, or the invention of credit cards before that. And I really think that Web3 has all the ingredients to be such a thing. And instead of giving spotlight to the tech guys, as it usually happens with such inventions, we let some snake oil salesman just get in the driver's seat and control the narrative. And then came the marketing guys. And like they looked at the Web3 space, they picked just one non-fungible tokens, and they did their magic, like cast their spells, and convinced everyone that throwing money at some JPEGs with those 3 letters was actually their ticket to the moon. And what followed was this 1-year-long crazy drunken party, but like instead of strippers, people were throwing cash at their computer screens, at some badly drawn animals. Like the winter beer, which was sold for $19,000. Or this indifferent duck, and someone paid $31,000 for that. And it was a year ago, and now the best price for that offer is $5.50 or something. Or this shield seal for $50,000. And actually, that's not even a real NFT. My friend Masho did that, but I bet you didn't even notice the big difference. And by the way, Masho helped me create all the slides. And yeah, came the next morning, and as often happens with such parties, people left disappointed with no money and a terrible hangover. So yeah, pretty much that first slide. But the thing is, I still believe that Web3 will be an integral part of our daily lives, like in 10 years from now. And looking back from 10 years, it won't even seem like this bumpy start won't even seem like a big deal. But in a shorter term, not to just stay a grumpy cat, and even if I wanted to, I couldn't do that, but because Grumpy Cat was sold for $55,000, and that's an actual price. We decided to put our money where our mouth was and to create a Web3 experience that would showcase Web3 possibilities, like build a society, virtual society, which will incorporate like governance, complex social interactions, digital economy, but based entirely on Web3 and governed entirely by computer code. So the island of Artemis was born. It's a virtual world kind of set in the ancient Greece with cyberpunk aesthetics, and it's built on an idea of total freedom, like a thought experiment of what you would do if you were free to do anything. So you can join like the dark side and become part of some violent gang, or just grow food and catch fish. And I won't go into too much details about our project, so not to turn this pitch into a sales pitch. I'd rather try to focus on a bigger picture and try to showcase on this example the possibilities that Web3, the ways the Web3 can improve our modern life and status quo. And we start with anonymity. And this quote by Oscar Wilde like really sums it up, because yeah, you are really yourself when there's no, when your reputation is not on the scales. And kind of that's why on Facebook we're less expressive as we're on some random anonymous forums. And as with every society, this society also needs some basic, like main principles and main values that the society will stand on. And the most important principle, one of the most important values is and principles is the idea of ownership, the right to own something. And that's where the blockchain comes into play. Namely its eldest child, Bitcoin. And to think of it, Bitcoin took the concept of ownership and property, the concept so familiar and natural to all the humanities throughout the millennia, and turned it on its head. Because like how Michael Saylor once so aptly summarized, before invention of Bitcoin, you didn't really have the true right of property. So if you think that you own something, like the government anytime can take your house via eminent domain, or a robber can come and shoot you and take all your gold and all your valuables. But with Bitcoin, just by memorizing those 12 words, you can literally own, like you can put any amount of money in your head, be it like $10 or 10 million, and no one will be able to take it away from you or like steal or even know that you have it. So I think that's the point of singularity, and that's the most profound implications of Bitcoin. The moment that we can truly own something. Yeah, it's Mash's idea of putting money in your head. Yeah, and for the society to work, we need to establish some form of trust. And usually, when you do any dealing with someone, you either involve a third party, or if you trust someone, you just do a verbal agreement. But with Web3, there's no need for any of those, because the technology of smart contracts, in itself makes sure that the agreed upon terms will be solved, like every party will get what they agreed on in the first place. So it's kind of this incorruptible global referee or law enforcement all in one. And once you decentralize trust, and once you put the middleman out of the picture, like some really interesting and cool things are possible to happen. And just to take an example, I'll take the most basic financial tool, like currency exchange. And usually you go to a bank, and there's some central source who decides what the exchange rate is. But now we don't want to have any middleman, right? So how can this be done? And turns out it can be done, and the solution might be very elegant and smart. So I'll just demonstrate. I won't go into too much technical details, but I think this thing is really cool. So basically you start with an empty pool and put equal amounts of two currencies, take like $1,000 and 3,000 laris, assuming that $1 is 3 lari for the simplicity's sake. And you put only one rule, just one formula that makes sure this whole thing works without any involvement of the human. And the rule is the product of those two amounts should always stay the same, so 3 million in this case. So I come along with my $100 and I put it, and we get the exchange rate because we can just divide one over the other. And I come with my $100 and put it in the pool, but now the formula is messed up. So we can calculate exactly how much laris we should take out, so the formula stays the same. So I'll get this much laris for my dollars. But now the exchange rate changed because in the context of our pool, there's slightly more dollars and slightly less laris, and it's a rule of life that something that is more is less valuable. And which in turn creates incentive for the outside traders to come and buy these cheap dollars, right? So someone comes along with 300 laris, and with the same principle, he gets $110. So the formula makes sense. And that's it. This one rule makes sure that the whole system is in perfect balance. And billions and tens of billions of dollars are being exchanged by this one rule. And that's not even the best part. The strongest point and the best part for this whole thing is the whole Web3 is open source and composable, meaning that I can just meaning that I have to solve each problem once. So I can just take this model and just stick into my game, and now like any fisherman can put any price on their fish, and unobtainium is the currency of the island. And we will have the total digital economy and benefiting from the same precision and same security that those multi-billion-dollar industries are. And that's a really profound thing, because I think the future is decentralized and open source, and not the future like our past. As a human species, we came here and we made this progress before because we were building upon the inventions of the others. And this quote by Isaac Newton really succinctly sums it up. And last but not least, let's talk about the NFTs. Because, I mean, as tempting as it might be to want to throw all your life savings on this beautiful creation, NFTs are not really about that. And what NFTs are really is, it is an ability to claim back the ownership of the value that we provide in the digital space. So, and I'm not talking just about like musicians not getting paid for their music online. I'm talking about the fact that like every meme, every insightful comment, every piece of content that we create as the creators and contributors to any platform, be it Facebook, TikTok, any platform really, that content and that collective value is in fact what the platform is comprised of. And it's just wrapped in some fancy tech and some fancy logos. And today, the current model is horribly unfair to the creators, because what happens today is those aggregators, okay, Masha tried to paint Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and I'm not sure what that, but they're sitting on that data and hoarding it. And that's what really happens, because all those platforms, like those few supergiants, are just hoarding the data and just selling it to the ad aggregators and to the highest bidders. So in a sense, we, the users, are the data being traded. And what NFTs can do is get back the ownership of our data. And that's the best kind of ownership, because if I own something as an NFT, I don't have to restrict anyone's access to it, because it's not built upon restriction. Because the more people, the more people see or interact or share my data, the more ways it has, the underlying NFT has more ways to appreciate in value. And because, yeah, information wants to be free. And that gave us the internet itself. And to think of it, internet was about getting information from the hands of the few media companies and like centralized sources of information like radio or news, and democratizing it and getting it back to the masses. And we've all seen the Cambrian explosion that it followed and that we're witnessing now. And in a sense, Web3 will do to the value what internet did to the information. Yeah, and once you can put value on abstract things, some really nice ideas can follow. For example, we've been working with these two wonderful architects on their virtual architect startup, and we're playing with the idea of taking your future career as an architect and selling the portion of it as an NFT. So you're pledging your future career, like 10% of your future career, and instead of going into debt, you can just, I mean, if you have some meaningful followers, they have the chance to become investors for your future and for your career. That's an architect trying to go into space, and it looks like a witch trial, but yeah. And okay, to finish it on a light note, the good news is the tech is still here and it's alive, and those who are doing stuff takes time. And those of us who are doing stuff, we're sitting quietly behind the desks and working and we're not trying to rush into the spotlight to be first and to give out empty promises. And so the good news is the study is just getting warmed up. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, I decided to mint that. Okay, no, we don't. Sorry, it's really important. Okay, so I decided to mint that Masha's seal as an NFT, and if anyone wants, and I minted it as a collectible for a Touch 22 like collectible ticket. So if anyone will send email at this QR code, they will get, the first one to send me the email will get it for free. So yeah, thank you.